The next few minutes in the hotel lobby stretched into what felt like an eternity for Mr. Faisal. The polished, welcoming atmosphere he'd expected was replaced by a cold, uncomfortable tension. The receptionist kept shooting nervous glances at her manager, her hands fidgeting, completely unsure of what to do. Mr. Faisal, maintaining his composure, pointed once again to the reservation slip in his hand, trying to communicate with simple gestures. His voice was polite, but a flicker of frustration began to show in his eyes. Every attempt he made to explain himself only seemed to sink him deeper into a quicksand of misunderstanding. The manager let out an exasperated sigh. "This is getting ridiculous," he muttered under his breath, wrongly assuming the man wouldn't understand him. Why do people travel if they can't even speak English? A few guests lingering nearby overheard his rude comment and let out soft, condescending chuckles. The receptionist forced a tight-lipped smile, trying to look professional, but her irritation was obvious. Mr. Faisal saw it all. Every dismissive look, every hushed whisper, every arrogant smirk. He had traveled the world, but never before had he been made to feel so insignificant. Still, he refused to let pride get the better of him. He had built his entire empire on a foundation of patience, and he would use that same patience now. He slowly pulled out his phone, hoping a translation app could bridge the gap, but the hotel's spotty Wi-Fi rendered it useless. Just then, a loud, demanding businessman stormed into the lobby, complaining about his own booking. Immediately, the staff rushed to his side, their attention completely diverted, leaving Mr. Faisal standing alone, forgotten. "Please wait, sir, we'll help you soon," the receptionist called over her shoulder, but her tone was dismissive, like she was shooing away a beggar. A wave of disappointment washed over the millionaire. He had the means to buy this entire hotel, yet here he was, being treated like he didn't belong. He glanced around at the fancy posters plastering the walls, their slogans reading "Every guest is family" and "Hospitality with heart." He saw the bitter irony. There was no heart in the way they looked at him. As the minutes ticked by, his stomach rumbled. He hadn't eaten since his flight. He gestured towards the restaurant, hoping for a simple meal, but a bellboy just shook his head. "No entry, sir. The restaurant is for registered guests only." The words stung. He tried to explain in Arabic that he was a registered guest, that a suite was booked in his name, but his words were met with blank stares. "Please move aside, sir," the bellboy said firmly, waving him away. Whispers started up again among the other guests. "Maybe he's lost," one woman murmured. "He doesn't look like he can afford a place like this," another added, her voice dripping with judgment. Their assumptions hung heavy in the air. Instead of lashing out, Mr. Faisal simply walked over to a lobby chair and sat down, closing his eyes for a moment. What none of them knew was that this wasn't just a leisure trip. He was here to evaluate this very hotel chain for a massive investment deal. He planned to acquire a part of the franchise and expand it into his home country. But now, seeing how they treated a man based on his language and appearance, he began to have serious doubts. Meanwhile, behind the reception desk, the manager and receptionist shared another quiet laugh. "What should we do with him?" she asked. "He's been sitting there for 20 minutes. The manager just shrugged. "Ignore him. If he can't explain himself, that's not our problem." But someone else had been watching. Amara, a maid who had been quietly mopping the floor, had seen the entire exchange. She noticed Mr. Faisal's calm demeanor. He wasn't demanding, just desperate to be understood. And she recognized the script on his paper. It wasn't just scribbles. It was Arabic. Her heart began to pound. Should she intervene? Maids weren't supposed to get involved with front desk matters. But as she watched the manager walk away, leaving Mr. Faisal completely ignored, her grandmother's words echoed in her mind. Never ignore someone's struggle just because it is not yours. She knew no one else was going to help him. Taking a deep breath, Amara leaned her mop against the wall and started walking towards him. "Amara!" one of her colleagues hissed. "What are you doing? Get back to work." But she didn't stop. Mr. Faisal opened his eyes as he heard her soft footsteps approach. It was the maid. Her uniform was worn, her hands were rough from work, but her eyes were filled with kindness. She gave him a nervous smile and said something that made his world stop. "Assalamu alaikum," she said gently in perfect Arabic. Mr. Faisal's face lit up with pure, unadulterated relief. "Wa alaikum assalam," he replied warmly, rising from his chair. Finally, someone understood. The entire hotel staff froze, staring in shock as the two began conversing fluently. The lobby, which had been thick with arrogance just moments before, suddenly felt different. It was as if humanity had found its voice again, through the one person everyone else had deemed invisible. As Amara listened patiently, translating his needs to the stunned receptionists, nobody could have possibly known that this simple act of kindness was about to change both of their lives forever.